In this video, we will show you how to replace your left rear window regulator with motor assembly. The vehicle we're working on is a Mercury Grand Marquis between the year ranges of 2003 and 2011. The motor regulator assembly will be located inside the door behind your inside door panel. Now let's get started. With the door open, let's start removing our inside door handle. Use a small pocket screwdriver. Come right over to this trap door and pop it open. Behind that area, you'll find one mounting bolt holding this in place. Use a T27 Torx bit to remove it. With the screw out of there, we'll continue on with a plastic trim tool so we do not damage anything. Carefully come up along the top here and you can pull this down and remove it from the vehicle. Now let's continue on to removing the window switch panel. As we start popping this up, keep in mind there is wiring that leads to the window switch itself. To lift this up, use a small pocket screwdriver and a trim tool if needed. We're going to have to get underneath this area and gently start prying it up. What you'll find is that you have several push tabs. There's one right along here that holds it in place, one approximately in this area, and there should be another one up here. This feels a little loose, so it's probably broken. What I'll do is I'll come right down inside this area and gently start getting in between here so I can pry this upward. As I'm lifting this up, I'll make my way under this area and try to find this little tab that you can see along this area. Get right in between there. Now I should be able to pop this up. And then you would want to do the same thing over here, but like I said, that one's already broken. Continue on to your wiring. On this gray connector, where my thumb is, you can see that there's a little tab. You can squeeze this in and gently separate this. Give it a quick check for corrosion. Assuming it looks okay, go ahead and set that aside. If yours has a push tab like ours right here, go ahead and pop that right out of there using a trim tool. Pop that out of there. Set that down into the door panel. Now behind that area, you'll find that you have one 7mm mounting screw. We're going to remove that and then make our way to the bottom of the door panel to remove one more 7mm mounting screw. Once you have both those mounting bolts out of there, grab onto the door panel. Carefully lift it up and away from the door. Slide the wiring out through the door panel and set the panel aside. To do this job, you will find that you have rivets behind the door panel holding things in place. You will either have to have rivets and a rivet gun to replace them, or just replace them with some nuts and bolts. With that out of the way, we have to start removing the vapor barrier from the area. You'll find that you have this bracket held in place with rivets. There's going to be several other rivets that we will have to remove as well. To remove these, you can use a hammer and a punch. Come right in the center and knock out the middle here. Once you have that out, we'll do the same to the other one, and then we'll start drilling off the heads of each of the rivets. Continue on with a 3/8 drill bit. Do the same to the other. Remove your bracket. Quickly check each of the holes for any rivet residue. Knock it out of there. At this point, we can carefully remove our vapor barrier from the area. You will be reusing this, so don't rip it. As we get to this side, make sure that you put the wiring through. Set the vapor barrier aside. To remove the electrical connector, you'll find along this area where my index finger is a little tab that you can gently get in between, separate it from the connector, and lift this up and off of here. You can do it by finger. I'll just do it with this pick so my hand's out of the way. Quick check for corrosion. Now you'd want to follow this wire down inside the door. Looking at the outside, you can see that you have these two clips that protrude outward towards us. You can use a trim tool or a pick. Come in between that area and gently pull those out and away from the door. Here's one. Now you can grab that wiring and pull it towards the motor. With that motor disconnected, we can continue on to our 3 mounting rivets in this area. We'll use our hammer and punch, drive out the center, drill off the heads. Continue with your 3/8 drill bit. The next thing you want to do is reach inside and just make sure that's separated from the door. All right, we're getting close. We've got 2 more rivets down here. Punch out the center, remove the heads, slide the bottom away. The next thing you want to do is very carefully start lifting the window into the fully upright position. And then we'll continue on by holding it in place. To do that, I'll be using some tape, and this could be easiest if you had a second person helping you. We'll just grab this window, lift it up, hold it in place while we tape it. Perfect. With the bottom separated, make your way up to the 2 last mounting points. You're going to use an 11mm to remove each of these nuts. After that, there'll be nothing else holding the window regulator to the door. We'll go ahead and carefully slide it right out through this hole. Now we can put the key back in the on position and power that window regulator all the way down to the bottom. And then remove the key and disconnect your switch. The next thing we will do is carefully start removing our tape and lowering the window down into the door. Carefully slide this down. Now we'll use a trim tool and remove this piece of trim that comes along here. Give that a quick inspection and set it aside. Next, we'll remove this area that comes up and along the door. Use our trim tool for that as well. Quick inspection, set it aside. Now we can make our way all the way over right here. You're going to find an 11mm nut. Remove it. Use a plastic trim tool, carefully get in between your outer molding here, gently lift this up, and then slide it this direction to remove it. Grab onto that window and gently start lifting it up and out of the door. Now we can make our way back in here. You remember that we have two studs up here that are pressed in and through the door. Reach inside the door and start pushing the window regulator away, drawing the studs out of the door. Now we can start removing the window regulator from the door. Careful for your wiring. There it is, friends. All right, friends, let's get ready to install our brand new window motor and regulator assembly. Start putting it in position inside of your door. Get these studs lined up. Now, once you have them in there, continue on with your two mounting nuts. Now we can move down to the lower area. For these, we'll use some nuts and bolts. Slide that bolt right through there, put my nut on the back side. Same for the other one. Next, we want to pay attention to this area. I'll reach inside the door, and I'm going to take the motor aspect of the regulator and press it into place. We're looking to make sure all of the mounting holes line up, and down in this slot right here, there should be a metal area that protrudes out towards us. There we are. Take your mounting bolts, slide them through there, and start on the nuts along the back side. Once everything's started in, continue on by tightening it up. We'll start up along the top, where those studs came through the door. If I was to reach inside here, you can tell that I can slide this any direction that I need to, side to side. But if you were to look at the door itself, you'll be able to see the area where it was originally. Try to align it, and then tighten the mounting nuts. Continue on down to the bottom. If you're using nuts and bolts, make sure you're holding the nuts on the back side and tighten the forward side. I'll use my 10 millimeter. Make your way over to the motor aspect of the regulator. We'll get that mounted in place as well. Now it's time to connect in the motor wiring. When you do this, you want to make sure that you have the wiring coming in between the door and the regulator itself, right along here. Make sure that you don't have the wiring going along the outside of the regulator where the window will be going up and down. Otherwise, it will get damaged. Make sure that's secure. Tuck the wiring away. All right, we're at the point that we can start reinstalling the glass for our window. As we slide this down into position, we want to make sure that it's going down into the channels. You'll find that at the very beginning, when it's up high, it won't fit at all until you get all the way down into the door. At that point, you can start putting it into the channel and pull it back up into the upright position. There we are. I'll get this lined up along the forward side here. Now once I've done that, I'm going to make my way inside here, try to get it lined up with this window channel, and then slide it in. Slide this into the upright position. Hold it there. Continue on with your tape or whatever it is you're holding it up in place with. All right, so now that the window's up there temporarily, we'll reconnect our window switch, put the key in the on position, and bring the window regulator up to its original position as when we had removed it from the window. Go ahead and remove the key and disconnect your switch. Hold the window and continue by removing your safety tape. Now we'll slide the window down to where it connects onto the window regulator. Line up your two mounting holes and start in your mounting hardware, whether you're using rivets or bolts with nuts. Let's test the functionality real quick. Reconnect the switch, power it up, and test the window. Perfect. Install your outside window trim. You'll notice that this wants to come down at an angle and slide in along this area. Then you can bring this straight down. We'll put on our 1 11mm nut on the inside there. Now let's put in our upper window seal. If you were to look at this, you'll find that you have a groove right where my thumb is. That's the area that the door needs to fit into all the way around. Let's get this into position. Start sliding it into that groove, make my way. Now we can put in the inside window sweep. Looking at this, you'll find a groove all the way across the bottom. The door fits directly in it. Line it up, slide it into position, making sure that this area lines up as well. Now let's make our way into the door where the wiring harnesses are. We want to make sure that they're secured. If the window motor did not come with the tab that pushes through the door, continue on with a wire tie, securing it to the wire that does have one. Once it's secured, go ahead and mount that to the door. Now it's time to reinstall the vapor barrier. For this, you'll either want to have some butyl tape or some tape handy so you can put it in place. Let's take that window switch wiring and slide it right through this slotted hole. Put the weather barrier in position. You'll notice there's going to be several squared out notches that fit directly into the door. That's how you'll know it's aligned properly. Now we can mount our bracket. We'll put it in place on the door. Get ready to install your rivets or mounting hardware, whatever you're using. All right, let's start mounting the door panel to the door. There's several things you want to pay attention to while doing this. On the door panel itself, you'll find that you have several hooks making their way around. In the door, you remember those squared out notches that I told you about when we were doing the vapor barrier. Each one of those hooks fits into those notches. The next thing I want to mention is the window switch wiring. Go ahead and slide that right up and through the hole here. Lastly, you have the area for the door lock. That needs to fit up and through here. Let's take this and put it in position. Come up nice and high, get that door lock aligned. Now as we bring this into position, you want to be pressing the door panel up against the door, paying attention to the top ridge that comes across here and each of those hooks. As we bring it down, the panel needs to fit flush with the door. Now just feel all the way around the door to make sure it's completely secured. Continue on with your two 7mm headed screws. You've got one that goes on the bottom of the door panel. And the second one goes right inside here. Continue on to your window switch. Listen for a click. You also want to re-secure this strap. Now you can take this and put it in position in the door. Let's put this into position. Should slide right in. Continue on with your Torx head screw. Start it in by hand and snug it up. Install your trap door. Okay friends, we've got the door panel all back together. We've already tested the window functionality. We know it functions properly. Go ahead and shut the door. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.